Red White Vehicles is the new Bant company. Welcome in, much love. Come for a walk with me as we talk about MTG Standard Kaladesh. I'm really obsessing over this with the Pro Tour coming up. I'm not necessarily having the most fun spending all my hours thinking about the interactions of the most highest competitive Magic cards in Standard, but that's how my brain works. If I have a tournament, I just obsess. I'm compelled. So I've been doing that. And I'm having a hard time beating the Red White Vehicles deck with everything that I throw at it consistently. There's a lot of decks that can beat the Red White Vehicles deck, but certain features of the deck make it very hard to beat consistently. And that's somewhat frustrating for me right now. So we're going to talk about why that is and what the options are. Now, I think Wizards has done a great job in the format shift in one way, and that's they took one of the slowest formats of all time, Standard, where no one played ones, to one of the fastest, where the red-white and the red-black and the Mardu decks are just crazy fast. So that's awesome. I kind of dislike how good Smuggler's Copter is, how hard it is to remove, how good the looting is, how hard it hits, how hard it is to block, which kind of forces you to play aggro. You don't have to, and we're going to talk about control a little bit. So, what makes the Red-White deck, Vehicles deck so good, and why the decks that beat it aren't really beating it consistently. So, the Red-White Vehicle deck has very good mana. It has great mana with the Needle Spire's Inspiring Vantage, and it doesn't have double white or double red needs in the deck, so it's rarely going to get mana screwed. Plays a lot of lands. It has Looting with Copter. It has Scry with Motorist. Most of these other decks don't have the Scry, so it's just more consistent. It's less likely to get mana fucked or whatever. It has Scry, it has Looting, it has mana sinks in the Needle Spires and in the Dwarf Lord, tapping to dig, and with the Thraben Inspector, so it's unlikely to get flooded also, which means it has a good late game. It has strong individual power cards, and it is has really fast nut draws of turn 1, Exemplar, turn 2, Copter. So there's these decks that beat the red-white deck in theory, but their mana is worse, so they'll lose 5 or 10% from that, or they flood, so they lose 5 or 10% from that. Or there's decks that line up better against red-white, but they're not more consistent with more scry, more looting, more mana sinks. More looting, yes, there's some decks that play Key to the City, but red-white is like the Bant deck that's just so hard. So hard, it's easy to beat it's easy to beat 40% of the time. Maybe even 45. It's hard to really trounce 60, 70. And I'm skeptical of anyone who says that they can. Another thing I've noticed is I'm talking to a lot of people. I've had people tell me that they're like beating it 90% of the time, stuff like that. I'm really skeptical of anyone who ever reports anything like that to me. If you want to get my attention about a deck, all you have to do is say you beat Red-White Vehicles 60% of the time, and I'm stoked. People say, like, yeah, I've been just crushing that in testing. I'm 10-1. It's like, all right, well, now I don't know if I can trust your testing anymore because I just don't. I'm sorry, I'm skeptical. So, that said, I want to be on Team Copter for the Pro Tour, but I don't want to play Red-White Vehicles, and I don't want to play a worse Copter deck, so I'm starting to look at control decks now. And it's now possible to do control because we kind of have the metagame out in front of us. So I'll be talking about control later, not in this video, but if you're playing Standard right now and you want to win, my recommendation is get good with the Red-White Vehicles deck. It's really consistent, and one of the reasons that people beat you is because they assume that you wake up your Smuggler's Copter and attack it into Harness Lightning or Grasp of Darkness or Fiery Temper or whatever. You play a good long game if you're playing Red-White Vehicles. Don't wake up your Copter into their removal. They're going to have to throw their removal at one of your less important creatures or waste the mana and you can still block with the copter, and it extends the game, which is generally going to be in your favor versus these copter mirrors. So that's a key interaction that is affecting lots of people's testing, is they assume the opponent's just going to attack, red-white's just going to attack their copter, and no, that's not how, that's actually not. You have to assume that in your testing that the opponent is going to make the optimal plays. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think, if you agree, disagree. Again, I recommend just playing the vehicles deck right now. Hopefully we'll have a different recommendation within the next, well, immediately after the Pro Tour. I'm not going to play vehicles at the Pro Tour. I just can't. I just refuse. But that doesn't mean I don't think it's like an insanely good deck. If you're playing Control, if you're playing anything else, let me know in the comments. If you have good testing and you have anything above 50% versus this deck, I'd like to hear about it. It doesn't need to be 90 or 100% because I just don't believe it. So, morning. So, that's where I'm at in Standard. Also, updates on the channel while we're here. While I'm in Hawaii, I'm probably not going to keep up with daily videos, but I will be having videos on this channel, on the other channel, Travis Wu, and I will, yeah, so I'll be back and there will be daily videos. I'm going to try to do it, I just can't guarantee it. So that's it for me. I'll look forward to what you have to say in the comments. Much love, have an amazing one.